Good evening, everybody. This is Shane, Marco, and Damon. We are recapping the 2021-22 NHL season for the Montreal Canadiens, a season that will probably go down in history as one of the worst. Not a whole lot of good to come out of it, but there is still some good, right? And here we're all about Habs-ativity. So we found the good stuff, plucked it out, and that's all we're going to be talking about today. As we go along in the comments, shoot your favorite moments of the season. We'll put them on the screen. There are quite a few, actually, even through all the shit, all the injuries, because my God, did we ever have injuries? There was still some good stuff. So let's get right into it, boys, with the most recent. Okay, this will be talked about for years to come. Obviously, the legend himself, Le Démon Blanc, number 10, who left us. And my goodness, I mean, the ceremonies, everything that was surrounding his passing was just so beautiful. And I think we'll be talking about it for years to come.
Yeah, although this moment was probably one of the most sad events that ever happened this season, just the absolute icon that Guy Lafleur is to our organization, to the NHL, just to the hockey community in general, obviously. But at least the Group CH and everybody involved with the Habs organization did a phenomenal ceremony, nice 10-minute ovation too. Everything was so well put for Guy, and they made sure that he got the ovation and he got the ceremony that he deserved, and they just did an absolutely good job with that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very unfortunate and tragic death. Wishing Guy and his family the best. It's really sad that he passed away, but I'm just happy the way the organization handled everything. Of course, all the ceremonies that happened and the national funeral. We had Patrick Waugh speak, and as I'm sure we know, Patrick Waugh is a bit of an unfiltered guy, and Patrick Waugh only had nice things to say about Guy, and really his true reflection on who Guy was as a person. A lot of people who knew him said he was one of the nicest people out there, and he always took time to sign autographs and take photos with his fans, and he will be truly missed across Canada and across the world, and even especially more in the hockey world.
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, from all the teams in the NHL except the Carolina Hurricanes, we'll call them out on that. Every single team in the NHL honored him, and that's not something that happens very often. And even the Bruins had like a pretty nice ceremony for him, all that. And he had a little memorial at the Bell Center for fans to pay their respects. And then just yesterday, the national funeral with just about everybody you can think about. So very, very beautiful stuff. Some good coming out of a terrible situation, but I think that's how he would want it, right? To be remembered in a positive light. And that's just what we did. So that's for sure top of the list for this season. But another feel good type of thing, even though that one doesn't feel great, this one certainly does. Jonathan Drouin and Carey Price, who both battled their own personal demons. We won't delve into that. We don't care. All we want them is to be happy and healthy. And for the most part, they are, right? They've conquered their battles. They've done that. Now Drouin is injured. Price, we don't know for the rest of for next season, but we're not focusing on that. We're focusing on their comeback because that was something special. I had the opportunity to be at the opening game where Jonathan Drouin made his comeback, and the ovation was phenomenal. And then Pricer at the end of the season there gets a huge ovation, well deserved. So those two moments definitely stand out.
Definitely. I think that a lot of people tend to forget that it's not just a game at the end of the day. These are human beings involved, and they all go through their personal battles. And especially when you're at this sort of stage, this worldwide stage, it's something that obviously it takes into account when you go through these sort of things. Sometimes it can make it a whole lot worse. You just have a lot going on. But regardless of all that, Drouin and Price, they both had their struggles. They both made it back. They were both real fighters, and it was really good to see both of them come back in such a strong way this season, both with Drouin and Price. And I was fortunate enough to have seen one of the home games where Price had played. We don't know what's going to happen with his future. There's a lot up in the air when it comes to that. If it was his last game or the last time I see him at home, I'm glad that I got the opportunity to do that. But no, kudos to them fully for battling through everything they're going through. I know we all know it wasn't an easy journey, but yeah, I mean, very well put. They deserve everything that he did, and just the way that they came back and fought through everything. It's got to be put out there, it's got to be appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Yep. As I'm sure we know that they fought very hard to go through what they did, and Jonathan Drouin at first, he of course he needed that leave of absence from the team, and he took care of things on the mental health side of things, and he showed it's okay to not be okay in this world, and
Yeah.
same with Carey Price. We of course know what happened there, but I'm really happy for Carey for what they both did. And the thing is, with them doing it, they showed it's okay if to reach out for help, and if anyone needs help, of course, to reach out for help. And they both did wonders for the world, and especially the hockey world, to show that if you need help, it's available for you, and if you need it, go out and get it.
That's right. That's right. Real role model stuff, right? It's very inspiring, and I think it's going to touch a lot of people. Certainly, it touched all of us. I think we really appreciated and understood what they went through. So again, another 2 very beautiful moments from an otherwise not too beautiful season. Now, with the injuries came the call-ups, right? So a bunch of kids got called up from Laval, and some kids made their NHL debut. In fact, 7 players scored their first NHL goal this season for the Habs, and I'm going to name them: Jordan Harris, Justin Barron, Jesse Ilonen, Corey Schoenemann, Raphaël Harvey-Pinard, Cale Clay, and Michael Pezzetta. 7. So, with all those injuries, all that misery did come out a bit of positive.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one good thing to take out of this tragic season in a way is that a lot of players, just considering our injuries and considering everything that we went through with our lineup changes, we never really had a steady lineup at any point in the season because of these factors. But a good positive that came out of it is that a lot of these players got the opportunity to really prove themselves, to put themselves on the NHL stage. And for a lot of them, it was very profitable for them. They got a lot of good NHL experience, which for sure will help them in their personal player development. And a lot of them got goals out of it too. And I mean, just this season alone, like I know Pezzetta is just an example we've been saying over and over on the show. He's just been one of the many standouts from these guys who I think maybe in a normal season where we wouldn't have so many injuries, wouldn't necessarily get an opportunity to show that they could really be a benefit to the organization. And I think this was a good sort of teaser as what's to come in the future. So although we had this bad sort of luck when it came to injuries and lineup changes, we never had any sort of consistency with that. At least these players got their opportunity to show what they could do, and it just got us all pretty excited for the future, I would say.
Yeah, especially this part here. I'm really excited to see what the future has in store for us. As I'm sure we know, 7 players already did score, and I see quite a few of them with long-term futures with us, especially Jordan Harris, as I'm sure we can say. Justin Barron resembling PK Subban on that first goal. We'll never forget that first goal. He resembled PK Subban a lot on that. Prime PK, I should say. Pezzetta, I really like. He reminds me of a hybrid between Ryan White and Dale Weiss, our very own Dutch Gretzky. And yeah, it's just been so nice to see. And also Ylonen, his goal, he reminds me of Lehkonen a lot. He reminds me, but I think he has a higher ceiling than Lehkonen, in my opinion. That's kind of my hot take. So yeah, just amazing to see how many players have scored their first goals this year. And I can tell you this is definitely going to be as I'm going to quote Vladdy Guerrero Jr. right here. This is the trailer. Before you know it, you're going to see the movie.
I like that. I like that. Well, I'm looking forward to the movie because we have a very bright movie coming ahead, and it's going to be beautiful. Damon, I know that you need to go win your team a basketball championship, so I'll let you sign off.
Let's go, Damon.
Real quick.
Thank you.
Take care, man.
Take care, buddy.
Bye.
All right. Well, moving on. We had Justin here touch on it earlier. 3 players actually scored a hat trick this season, including Mathieu Perreault against Detroit in Montreal at the Bell Center, which was a phenomenal moment. Unfortunately, I managed to miss that game. I don't miss many games, but I missed that one. Poor timing. Shane. But you know what? I watched the replays, and those were some nice goals. And I like the little ovation he had there after the third one. But, I mean, Mathieu Perreault had one. Josh Anderson also had one. And most recently, obviously, Cole Caulfield. Beautiful hat trick against the Panthers. So those are always nice to see, right?
Yeah, especially close too. It was right at the sort of borderline of the season, really. It was on the last game where he could have gotten it. And I mean, given his performance this season, we were all kind of expecting this. We were all seeing this happen, especially since the St. Louis change. I'm
Oh
really
yeah.
happy they got the opportunity to get his hat trick right in the last game. That 10-2 win against Florida was honestly, it was such a memorable one for this season. You know, all the negativity and all the unluckiness, if that's a word, that sort of surrounded this season. That game was a great send off, you know, to send us
Mhm.
into the offseason and to next season on a good tone. And obviously, Cole scoring a hat trick, great for the club too. And obviously, great to see Josh Anderson too. He puts in the work every single game. That guy's going to be a rock for our organization going forward. So obviously, good to see him get the hat trick, and even Mathieu Perreault, which is a very good surprise. I think
Mhm.
getting a hat trick. I think if you would have put the odds on it at the beginning of the year on a little bet, you would have got a nice little payout. I'm not sure what the odds would have been on that, but yeah, good for those players for you know, really putting it out there for a team. And this is one of the highlights that came from an otherwise not very eventful season.
Well said. Well said. Well, another story that I really enjoyed this season was Sam Montembeault.
Yeah,
Started off the season rocky as hell. You know, he's had some. We'll say he had some rough games, but he got it together. And man, did he ever play well! And that 32 save shutout against Buffalo, it was that standout game. You know, in Montreal, he played lights out. It was amazing to watch.
for sure. And I think that especially that game, you can't really put into words what it means for his career, what it means for his player development. You know, that sort of confidence that you get knowing that you could pull off a 32 save shutout in the NHL, especially grinding your way throughout your entire life to
Yeah.
make it to this moment. This is for sure going to go down in the personal highlights for Sam Montembeault. And honestly, it's been kind of a rocky season with our goaltending in general, but Montembeault has been there when we needed him in several games. And all in all, I've liked what I've seen from him this season. I think that he could be a good backup who could compete at the NHL level. I know this
Yeah.
season we've had a few goalies get some opportunities, Kane Primo included. And I think that we could sort of conclude that perhaps he may not be ready for the NHL level yet. Although I did see him at a Rocky game last week. He did look pretty good. So if he
Mhm.
continues to develop at that pace, who knows in the future what we could see. But Montembeault has shown that he could be a good, reliable backup. Obviously, not maybe at that elite status that Jake Allen is at, but he's still showing some promise, I think, this season. And who knows what our goaltending season is even going to look like for the season coming up. We might need some of Montembeault's heroics again for next year. But
Yeah.
I'm a believer in him, and I'm really happy too. He's definitely been a benefitor for the lineup changes and all the injuries this season. So glad that he got the opportunity, and I think he showed us a nice little tease of what he could provide to us in the future.
No doubt. I mean, he seems like a great guy. You know, Sam. Hey, if you're watching, we'd love to have you this summer at some point. You're always
Of
welcome
course,
here.
yeah.
But no, I'm serious. Like, I think he really has a future with the Habs, or just in the NHL. You know, depending on what happens with our goalie situation. You know, it's pretty complicated with price and all that. But I'm convinced he's an NHL goalie, and I would love to keep him with the Habs. No doubt about that. Another
Definitely.
goalie story that our friend Justin here points out is the Hamburglar. It
Mhm.
seems like a lot of people forgot about him, but we got the chance to see him live in Ottawa, which was
That's true.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Threw some
Put
burgers
on a
on
good
the
show.
ice. Wasn't us, by the way, but you know, there was some burgers on the ice at one point, which was
Hey,
awesome.
we were encouraging it.
But yeah, that's it. Rightfully so. But
Yeah.
seriously, I think it's worth pointing out that you know Andrew Hammond had a resurgence with the Habs. His career was going nowhere, and then Kent Hughes gave him a shot, and he proved that you know that was worth taking. So, shout out to Andrew Hammond. All the best to you in New Jersey or wherever your career takes you. Right now, you're out of the playoffs, but hopefully you get into a better team next year because he
Well
deserves to be in
said.
the NHL. I think he is an NHL goalie.
Yeah, and I mean, some people tend to forget, but he actually finished the season unbeaten, or yeah, unbeaten with the Canadians.
How
So,
about that?
I mean, definitely credits to Hughes and the entire Habs organization for giving this guy an opportunity. He was really there when we needed him, when we had
Mhm.
nobody. And
Yeah.
not only did he fill in the spot, but he did a good job too. He secured a few wins for us. And like I said, he ended up finishing the season undefeated. And I'm sure this played a part and the New Jersey Devils signing him or taking him on the roster for when they needed him. So definitely a good resurgence for Hammond's NHL career, and even his wife and his family were very appreciative of the opportunity. Even when he left Montreal, there's very thankful for the fact that he got the chance to show what he could do in Montreal, and I'm sure it did wonders for his career going forward. We wish the best for Hammond, and hopefully he could go be a rock at another team and continue to light it up in the NHL.
That's right. That's right. I mean, if we move on here, we've touched on it already, but it's worth mentioning that last game, 10-2 win versus the best team in the league. Minus their best players, but hey, you know what? We'll take it.
We don't have to. We don't have to say all the details.
Exactly. You still beat the best team. So 10-2 win, full of great stories. Obviously, Caulfield gets a hat trick. Even Tyler Pitlick gets a goal. Carey Price gets his first and only win of the season. And, this comes days after the passing of Guy Lafleur. That whole game was just beautiful. A beautiful standoff for an otherwise terrible season.
Yeah, and you could even hear during that game too, the Guy chants, the fans, the players, they all knew that performance was for him. And honestly, this has to go down. Yeah, I mean, and against the highest scoring team in the league, funny enough. But no, I mean, this will definitely go down as one of the most special games to have come from this season for many reasons. One of them just being the fact that all the negativity that went on, both recently with the passing of Guy Lafleur and just the immensely underwhelming season that transpired this year, to end it off in this fashion against the highest scoring team in the NHL at home in what could be Carey Price's last game too. There's just so many different factors that go into why this game was so special. And honestly, in recent memory, this is probably one of the worst Habs seasons that we have witnessed. We're not going to sugarcoat it. So a 10-2 win at home in the final game makes the whole situation a little bit more worthwhile, I guess you could say. And yeah, obviously fantastic send off for the season. I don't think they could have done it in any better fashion.
Yeah, man. And as you mentioned, worthwhile. Well, there is a perk of being a bad team in the NHL.
Yep.
As we finished 32nd, by the way, the first team in NHL history to finish 32nd are these guys. So, I don't know if that's bragging rights, but it's something, that's for sure. But we do get something tangible, which is a top 3 guaranteed pick in the upcoming draft. We also have the best odds at first overall. And might I remind everybody that we have the first pick in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th round. So, all in all, that's a pretty good consolation prize, eh?
Definitely. I mean, if you're going to have a season like they did, might as well get something out of it. And this top 2 draft pick, finishing 32nd, having the best odds at the first overall pick, this is the best sort of, I guess, reward you could get from finishing last. And I mean, the draft class coming up is one that is so deeply talented, and no matter who we end up selecting, no matter what position we end up selecting, there's just so much talent that go across the board for this upcoming draft. So many promising prospects. Obviously, Shane Wright, Will Cooley, and many, many others. Matt Savoie, just Manic. Yeah. I mean, we would be lucky to have any of those guys. And just the fact that we're in the position to select one of them. I mean, people tend to forget that drafts, a lot of teams are in the same sort of position. They get top 2 draft pick and their organization has changed for next decade to come. They get undoubted superstars. So we don't know what these players are going to turn into, but it definitely gives us a good opportunity. It's definitely a tremendous asset to have. So if you're going to end the season the way that we did, this was honestly the best sort of outcome that could have happened. And I'm sure there are a lot of fans, us included, that were in a way sort of rooting for the tank when we saw the sort of direction that we were going. We're like, okay, if we're going to be this, if we're going to be this shitty in the season, let's finish dead last. Let's try to get the first overall pick. And yeah, like I said, this could be honestly just a game-changing sort of draft pick. Who knows? And there's even next year's draft too to look forward to. We're going to take it 1 year at a time, but there's a lot to look forward to for this upcoming draft. And obviously we'll be there. We're probably going to do a live show for the draft lottery. So you catch us on there when we do it on May 10th. But yeah, that's going to be exciting to see. I honestly can't wait for that.
That's right. That's right. Stay tuned because we're definitely going to have something special planned for that, as well as the draft. Obviously, some of us are going to try to be there in person, but we're going to cover all of that right here at Habs Tonight. No, there's like in the trend we're going here, there's a lot of good stuff that also happened off the ice, right? Not a lot of good stuff happened on the ice, but off the ice, we got this guy. We got this guy. I mean, that day was so crazy. You know, we get stomped by the New Jersey Devils the night before. It was what 7-1, you know, something ridiculous. Duchamp gets the boot. We're live. We're doing our little reaction show. As soon as we log off, we learn that NHL legend, Hall of Famer Martin St. Louis has been hired as our new coach. I don't think any of us predicted that. I mean, who thought that we would get Martin St. Louis as a coach? Certainly not me. But my
Who thought
goodness,
that he was even a candidate for coach?
My goodness, was that a good pick? Wow.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, when Hughes and Gordon said that they'd be going outside the box, they weren't kidding. I mean, they grabbed this guy literally from coaching. I don't know if it was bantam or pee-wee hockey.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, no one considers St. Louis as even a candidate, but obviously the Hall of Fame career that he's had, he's obviously got some benefit to bring to the team. And oh boy, then that was an eventful day for us, wasn't it? The Ducharme firing, the St. Louis hiring, that was a crazy day for a child, crazy day for the Habs organization. And this was just the first of many sort of instances where it sparked like immense interest and hope for the future. And we saw it sort of immediately as soon as he took over, the change I did for the team. Yeah. Cole Caulfield going from 1 goal the entire season to lighting up the way they did for the rest of the year. And that sort of same effect that kind of resonated throughout the entire team. Mm-hmm. And this was obviously something you could see that was needed in the team. A coaching change was needed, and we're just so extremely thankful. I think that the fact that we got St. Louis to show us what we were missing out on and what we could look forward to in the future. Yeah. Oh boy, it gets me excited for future to come.
That's it. Every Habs fan should be pumped right now. You know, even coming off of a terrible season, we should be happy. We should be looking forward to what's to come because it's going to be beautiful, especially with this guy behind the bench. And he did kind of confirm that he will no longer be interim coach. He will be officially the head coach. So remains to see. Yeah, definitely. Remains to be seen what kind of contract he's going to get. I'm thinking, 1 to 2 years probably to start off. And then if things go well, then we're going to extend him. But all of this change sprouted from our new front office. Complete overhaul. Bergevin out. Timmins out. Everybody, grab your bags. You're gone. We brought in Jeff Gorton, former GM of the New York Rangers, and he worked for Boston as well. Whatever, we don't mention that. We brought in Kent Hughes, former agent. We brought in, that's right, Vincent Le Cavalier. Yep. Oh, what a hire. So complete overhaul, and I'm all for that. And so far, I mean, it's a bit early to judge, but I think it's paid off pretty good. Like I'm looking at the moves we made here. Can't complain.
No, definitely not. I mean, we were able to sort of see too, even with the GM sort of situation, that this was sort of an inevitability that this Bergevin era was going to come to an end. Maybe the Stanley Cup Finals run last year sort of extended his inevitable departure, but no, just the organization. And obviously Gordon was extremely good GM. I think when New York Rangers was very key for them rebuilding, I guess you could say, the team that they have now, which look like a pretty good wagon. I mean, saw even yesterday in the playoffs, that series against Pittsburgh is going to be something, but no. And then to bring in Hughes too, which is another outside the box sort of signing or transaction, I guess you could say. Sometimes you need these sort of outside the box mentality to bring in some talent that maybe is overlooked, that you need, but necessarily wouldn't have looked otherwise. So, and just everything since their arrival, even in the media, with Chantal Maccabi, who's come in and really just provide a lot more transparency in the media. I just feel like the entire sweep in the front office and in the representation of the team this was obviously something that was very needed, and it's going to be something that we'll look forward to in the future, seeing what's going to do it. But so far, I think it looks very promising. Really been a fan of the moves that they made, which I'm sure we could get into a little bit in more detail later. But yeah, obviously this was something that was needed, and the future looks bright with these guys. And
That's
no
right.
matter what they do in the draft that's coming up, I got full confidence in the organization.
That's it. Very exciting stuff. And, we don't want to bash Bergevin and Ducharme. They've already been bashed enough. So we'd like to thank them, though, for what they've done. Ducharme did bring us to the Stanley Cup final after all. We
Yeah.
can't forget about that, even though, it was mostly Carey Price, let's be honest. But he was behind the bench nonetheless. And Bergevin built that team, right? So they both gave us some great moments, and we're thankful for that. But moving forward, the team that we have now is phenomenal. And I think an underrated hire has been Chantal Maccabi. When she was hired, I damn near shit myself. I thought, my goodness, how did I not think of this before? She is perfect for that role, and it's shown. The team is so much more accessible. They're so much more open, and I feel like they're, it's hard to explain, right? Because before the Habs seemed like above everyone, they're the highest team. They're like the biggest franchise in NHL, and now they're like, Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton are cracking jokes on a Twitch stream, right? And these guys run our front office. I love it. It's modern. It's with the times, and I think that's what we needed. So looking forward to all of that. And another thing too, I need to point out is that we now have 2 head recruiters replacing Trevor Timmins, who is doing the job solo. So we have Martin Lapointe, who is looking at the North American players, and we have Nick Bobrov, who is looking at the European players. So I think that is, again, phenomenal decision. It's going to pay out in the draft, I am convinced. And
Definitely.
My goodness, Marco, we have a development program. This is an NHL team. And in 2022, we just now decided to have a development program. But you know what? Better now than later. So I'm happy for it.
That's it. I mean, in recent memory, we've had a lot of great potential that I guess you could say has been kind of squandered or not lived up to the hype because of the misdevelopment of players. And now that we have an actual like player development system, obviously, and with the new team that we have in the front office, with Gordon and Hughes, the duo, the little twin-headed monster, I'm just fully excited for the talent that we're going to be bringing in. And obviously too, we're going to touch up on the prospects later, but with the new development system, these guys could be scary. That's all I'm going to say. So something that was very needed, obviously too. And I love the fact now that we got scouting in both separate locations in North America and Europe, because now you could specifically focus and pay more attention to each of these separately. You're not kind of mixing in everything all at once. You got time, you got different people looking at different areas, and you got the proper resources to make the best decisions at the end of the day. So yeah, all these moves, it is all something that was very needed again, and just very happy that it was done. Another positive to draw out from the season, and one that undoubtedly will spark change for his organization going forward into a new sort of Montreal Canadiens era.
That's right. It's looking good, folks. It's looking good.
Yeah.
Well, we have to acknowledge the former Habs that we lost this season. That's the painful part of going through a small rebuild, even though they don't want to use the R word. It is essentially what we did at the trade deadline. Even before that, trading Toffoli to Calgary, and then obviously Sherratt to Florida, Leckie, our boy Leckie to Colorado, and Kulak to Edmonton. So just a few former Habs that are in the playoffs. So all the best to them. We are rooting for you guys, and I think it's worth thanking them for their service and wearing the CH proudly and honorable. And all those guys are stand-up guys. They're not guys that you wanted to get out of the team. They all hurt in a sense to lose, but especially Leckie. I mean, shout out Nick. Shout out Nick. But yeah, no, all 4 of those guys, really hurt to lose, but we wish them the best, and now they have a chance to go back to the Stanley Cup final and hopefully lift it this time.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, these guys were key parts of our team last year when we made that Stanley Cup final run, especially to Foley. I mean, the amount of work they provided for us last season, even this season, he didn't have a bad season. It was just a group he's surrounded by. The coaching sort of mentality wasn't it for him. And I guess that organization kind of decided the direction that they were going, where it's kind of time to sell and to look at the future and see what kind of assets you could get. Obviously, it hurts to lose these players, especially considering what they meant to our team and what they have done for us in their time. And obviously, we have to give them kudos to what they've done for us. Obviously, that Stanley Cup final run last year was one that not a lot of teams could say that they have made. So
Mm.
obviously, we got to give them thanks for that. But
I think Marco is frozen. Can anyone in the comments let me know if I am frozen?
am I good now?
Oh, you're good. Marco's back.
Oh,
Marco's
yeah.
back.
Okay, I think we just cut out there. Where did I stop talking just so I could continue from where I left off?
You were talking about the Stanley Cup run and thanking the guys for all
Oh,
they've done.
yeah. Yeah, I guess I was touching up on the positives that we got from the assets that we got from this because we are in sort of sell mode. And I mean, we got first round picks out of this. We got some good promising prospects like a Neil Heineman, who I have a lot of
Mm.
hope in him. I think that he's going to be someone to look out for, a very underrated prospect. And I mean, in some cases, I mean, with Toffoli trade, we got first and him. And then in the Sherrod trade, obviously, we got the first round picks. And if your organization is sort of going towards this sort of direction where you're retooling and rebuilding, obviously people who you don't see sticking around for the future, you got to capitalize on their values. You got to get the best assets you could. And Hughes and Gordon, they made the best, I guess you could say, the best trades that they could have made with these players. And even Justin Barron, another promising one that I forgot about, we
Yep.
got in the Leckie deal. I mean, obviously it hurts to lose these players. They did mean a lot for our organization. We wish them the best going forward in their current playoffs runs and in their future. But at least we could look at the assets that we got and how useful this is going to be for our future going forward in this new sort of era.
That's right. Yep. Yep. Well said. Well, to cap off this wrap up, I guess we'll just mention our standouts, players who stood out, exceeded expectations. Not necessarily the best players on the team this year, but players who caught your eye and my eye. And I think the first two we have to mention are pretty obvious, Mister Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield, the future of
Mhm.
this team, are two stars. These guys are just they're phenomenal. I don't remember the last time we've been so excited about two young guys like them. It's going to be a treat to watch them for many years, hopefully. And this season, even though it was terrible, they were, a bright spot.
Definitely. I mean, these guys, it's we don't even need to mention how much they mean for our team and that these guys are
Oh,
our key players going towards in the future. But I mean, they just showed once again what they're going to mean for our organization and how much of potential future superstars they are. And I mean, they were our best superstars this season without a doubt.
mhm.
And that Patrick trade looking real good right now with Nick Suzuki. I'm loving what I'm seeing. And obviously Cole Caulfield's got the whole world ahead of him. And thank you for the teams on passing up on him. We're clearly
Oh yeah.
gonna we'll take
Shut
that
up, Philly.
with everything we got.
That's right.
Oh,
Shut up,
Philly.
Philly. Cam
Oh
York is
boy.
no bum, but I mean, come on now. You could have had Cole. It's okay. We'll take him. We'll take him.
Well,
So,
yeah,
I mean, obviously those guys are standouts for the season. We had to mention them, but kind of like the unsung heroes as Justin mentioned here, and he mentioned two great guys here. Jake Evans and Chris Weidman were on my list because I thought they had
me too.
great seasons. And especially Chris Weidman, I got to single him out because I thought he had a fantastic attitude. Coming in from Russia, he had that whole situation in Ottawa with the taxi and all that shit. That's behind him. The guy's grown up. He's a father now, and I think he noticed he appreciated the opportunity to play for the Habs, and he sees that opportunity. I mean, I thought he played fantastic, running the power play, all of his offensive play, and all around just a good defensive player as well.
Definitely. And I think you could say, I mean, that he's been our best defenseman this season. And obviously his ability to power play the quarterback was obviously utilized to our advantage. It was a good bright spot for the season in his offensive sort of upside as well as his defensive play. And considering where he's come from, like you said, it's just great to see. And so many players would be lucky, consider themselves lucky to play for the organization that is the Montreal Canadiens, and he did not disappoint. And this guy looks like a good sort of sleeper defenseman going forward too. I love what I saw from him this season, and again, him too. He's got the whole world in front of him, so I'm sure he's happy to have gotten the opportunity. And obviously, we're very appreciative of that too. He's, like I said, I think he's been our best defenseman this season. But a few other standouts, in my opinion, too. Obviously, Michael Pezzetta, we mentioned him a ton. Rem Pitlick, I think, is one who has really shown, especially a guy coming off waivers. And he wasn't really wanted by many other teams, but he came to Montreal. I guess we had to, that he had something to prove. And oh boy, did he prove it. This guy has been a reliable offensive player for us this season. And he has really shown us what he could do. And I'm excited to have him I think he could be a nice depth piece for us in the future. And I'm glad that him too, he got the opportunity to show us what he could do. And yeah, I'm very excited to see what he could provide in the future. Jake Evans, he was already mentioned. I also thought, if we're going to go back to defense, Corey Schooneman, when he's been called up from a while, I think that he's had a good year too. He's been, besides a few blunders, he's been overall pretty reliable. And him too, he's a young player. He's working on his game. And the NHL experience that he got from that too, obviously is going to be great for his future development.
No, worth mentioning for sure. I talked about him earlier as well, but one of my standouts was Samuel Montembeault. We had to rely on him heavy, and then he showed up. Even though we didn't get the W's all the time, he still put up great performances and didn't give in easily. Another guy too I need to mention, Jordan Harris. Worth mentioning because this guy just came in from college and he's already proving that he can actually be an NHL defenseman right away. Like, we could see him in the starting lineup next season. Same thing for Justin Barron too. Justin Barron unfortunately got injured, but before he did, my God, he belonged on that team, on that defensive core. So shout out to those guys. And Joel Edmondson, worth mentioning, definitely. He went through some hard times there with his father passing, and his back injury that kept getting worse, it seemed, but finally he broke through, came back to play, and he came back to play. That guy did not mess around. Physical, and he even produced offensively. He had a couple of goals, but I think, like Justin mentioned here, his leadership really stood out with the absence of Weber. I think he kind of took on a bit of that role as a mentor, as an older vet on the team. So really appreciated what we saw of Joel Edmondson this season.
Definitely. Yeah. I think you put it well. And his leadership was something that was obviously missed. And obviously him too, he was someone who was paired with Jeff Petrie for a large part of last season, which is part of the reason perhaps why his play exploded. And I'm sure Jeff Petrie too was someone who's really missing that sort of Joel Edmondson presence, not only because of his leadership, but what he provides on the ice. And obviously it was great to see him come back for our team. Another two quick standouts that I wanted to mention. One of them, Jesse Lonen, I think has been really good when he's been called up this season. There are a few times where I wish he got called up a little bit more, but that guy too was outstanding. And this is another young talent who I think could be a nice depth piece for us in the future. And I'm really loved what I saw from him this season. And I don't think it'd be a Habs Tonight episode without mentioning another standout of the season, which Justin also alluded to, which is the refereeing and the officiating, waving off countless goals that we could have had this season. Just based off your reaction, Shane. you have to get into these sort of things. Anything you want to say about the no comment?
I've said all I needed to say. We'll focus on the positives here, okay? Because I don't want to get too riled up. I know
we won't open that can of worms today.
Yeah, the refs are already on a bender in the playoffs. Some weak calls, but hey, you know what? We're not in it. We don't get to suffer from it, so it's all cool. Marco, I know you wanted to talk about other standouts that didn't actually play for the Habs, but will play for the Habs in the future. Our prospect pool. Some of these prospects are just tearing it up this season.
Oh boy, yeah. I mean, where do we even start? I mean, we have Josh Roy, who was the top point producer in the queue. And I think it was like 119 points, maybe. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But he led the queue in the points. And obviously, this guy looks like a steal for his draft position. And
Yeah.
this is obviously one of the more well-known sort of Habs prospects that a lot of people are sort of excited for, but nonetheless, I think slept on. This guy's, I think, with the proper development, he could be a star in the future. And another few guys as well. I know that we have Xavier Simoneau too, who's having a good season. I think he finished 12 in points in the queue. And then
And
we
he got
also have
injured
Riley
too.
Kidney.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too. And we have Riley Kidney too, who was signed just today into his entry level contract, who finished 7th in the queue with 100 points, which I know when you see someone get 100 points, you would expect him to be a little bit higher than 7th. But no, all these guys, great standouts in the queue. And with the proper development, like I said, I really think these guys could turn out into some really good players for us in the future. And our future right now, it looks like one that is going to be very young, very talented. And I'm just excited to see all these guys get their opportunity. Heineman and to Jordan Harris, Barron. I know we saw them a little bit this season. I'm truly excited to see what we can see for them in the future. But I'm really liking this young sort of direction in this group that we have going on in our team now. I think with the proper development and everything good going with these guys, we could have a scary group in the future. And yeah, I'm all in for it. And yeah, it was wow. These guys could really go down as some steals in the future. I think Riley Kidney was a 2nd round pick. This guy having 100 points in the queue. Wow, I can't even describe it. The excitement that these guys bring and how big this could be for our future.
No doubt. Some real studs in our pool, that's for sure, and a few more too. I mean, Caden Gooley, right? He's got some pressure on him being a 1st round pick and all of that, and labeled as our future defenseman, and he probably will be. You look at him play this season; he's had an underrated season with the Edmonton Oil Kings. He got traded there this season, but he's really performed. That team is stacked, by the way. Yuck. And even in the playoffs, he's been doing great. And another guy too, I know Nick's favorite, Arbor Jacki, got traded to the Bulldogs, Hamilton Bulldogs. Yeah, that's right. He's playing with Jan Mishak as well, another one of our prospects. But Arbor Jacki came out of nowhere. Wasn't that guy working at Costco or something? Like, and now he's going to be an NHL defenseman. I'm convinced. Even his coach had high praise for him. And he's developed his offensive game. We know how physical he is, big guy, well-rounded defensively, but now he's actually bringing some offense too. I remember when I went to see the red-white scrimmage before the season this year, I had no idea who this guy was, and I see him on the ice. I'm like, who the hell is this giant? Like, he's taller than everybody, bigger than everybody. Turns out he's like 19, 20, just getting started. And he dominated that game. So very excited about our prospect pool and the future of this team. I'm telling you what, it's looking pretty
looking
nice.
Bright. Yes, and let's not forget also Caden Gooley is also the captain for Team Canada Juniors team. So that shows too someone who could provide direction and leadership in our organization. I mean, we know that we're going to get a new captain next season. I'm hoping it's between Gallagher and Suzuki. That'll be news to come in the to come in the summer. But I mean, Caden Gooley too could be a sleeper in the future, maybe a future alternate. And who knows, depending on how his career develops, it's always good to have these guys with leadership. We mentioned Emerson before. I mean, he's a vet who provides this sort of presence. Petrie as well, who may also be someone who might be gone in the summer. So with these older guys sort of getting out of the system, these leadership guys exiting the team, you're going to need these younger guys to kind of step up. And I really have faith in Gooley too. Just the fact that he's Canada's captain for their junior team is something. And obviously Suzuki too. I'm sure that if he's selected for captain, he's going to do a great job. If not, he's going to be a fantastic alternate.
No doubt. We are in great hands. That's for sure. And we're going to be in even better hands very soon, because let's not forget, we have 2 first-round picks coming up here, including a top 3, right? We've mentioned this already, but our prospect pool is going to get a lot better very soon. And next year, we also have 2 first-round picks. So, guys, it's looking good in Habland here. We're happy, even though we finished last. we still find a way to smile. We still find a way to find some positives out of this season. And we know what, we want to thank you guys for sticking with us. We know this was tough. Last year when we started Habs Tonight, we we kind of rode that playoff run, and that was beautiful to share with you guys. But this season, I think, it was rough, no doubt about that. But we stuck through it, and we still found a way to bring some Habsitivity to the Habs fan base. So thank you guys for sticking with us. But we are not done. We are far from over, because this summer is going to be busy. Obviously, we have the draft lottery coming up on May 10th. And then obviously, the draft itself, but there's also free agency. There's going to be a captain named at some point, right? There's going to be moves that are made. So we will be on top of all of that. Whenever news breaks, boom, Habs Tonight is first on it. Mark my words. So that's all I got to say, Marco. If you want to plug in the last word here, I'll let you have it.
I think you did a great job ending it there. Very well said. And yeah, thanks again for all you guys, your support throughout the season. We know it wasn't the easiest to be a Habs fan, but your support obviously helped us drive our channel. And we can't put into words how appreciative we are of all of you guys. You were here through the highs and through the lows of this very, very underwhelming season. So yes, thanks again to all you guys. We wouldn't be here without you.
That being said, thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Take care.